Warning, this episode contains strong language or mature themes. Parental discretion is advised.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Alright.
Welcome to This Podcast is Uncalled For.
What's uncalled for about it?
Well, you can't tell anybody this.
I'm listening.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Don't be ashamed to be a supporter of Barack Obama for the next 2 years or for the rest of your lives, because you should be proud of what you've done.
I worship Cthulhu just for the free beer.
But you didn't even give him a chance for a wild card spot.
Well, the name of this podcast is Stuff Uncalled For?
This podcast is uncalled.
Podcast, all right.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous ending to that game that I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up.
We're looking at each other in the eye. We're not going to say anything derogatory to the other person. And, of course, neither of us is drunk.
Another thing that differentiates Mormonism from Catholicism is I don't hear Pope Francis saying that he's a prophet, seer, and revelator.
See, this is a disgrace.
Hey, we're getting somewhere.
And now, your host for this podcast, Mike Chernefsky.
Fuji!
Welcome to the podcast. Before we get started with today's episode, I do unfortunately have an announcement. Because some asshole out there decided to hack into my checking accounts and close down my debit card and completely compromise my online commerce, we will no longer be asking for Patreon donations beginning with this episode. To the person who did this to me, I hope you rot in hell. But for the rest of you, please continue supporting the podcast in the ways that you already do. Just tell people about it. Subscribe to the podcast yourself. Follow us on social media, all that good stuff. We'll try to find options for monetary help as the time comes. Probably be selling shirts and stuff, but we shall see. And of course, we have our live show during Kansas City Fringe Festival coming up in July 2020, so please keep an eye out for that. With all that out of the way, let's get to today's episode. And today's episode is my thoughts on being a Trekkie. As in space, the final frontier. We all know the words by now. But yes, I am a massive Star Trek fan. Is my parents, more so my mother, who encouraged me to become a Trekkie. I would like to say that Next Generation was my Trek, because that's really what got me started. But I've also seen all of the original series. I've seen all of the recent series as well, Discovery, and the current series as of this recording, Picard. And I intend to continue watching those as well as the Lower Decks cartoon that's going to be coming out, as well as Section 31 when that comes out, and any other series that will be coming out in the future. That being said, I have not seen all of the animated series, nor have I seen all of Deep Space Nine, Voyager, or Enterprise. I have seen all the mainline movies, with the obvious exception of JJ Trek. To understand my frustrations with JJ Trek, understand this. Vulcan is a very important part of the Star Trek universe, and to blow it up tells me you don't know shit about Star Trek. So there it is. Fuck J.J. Abrams. Oh yeah, That's right, we can say fuck in Star Trek now. Which is pretty funny in and of itself. And I'm going to probably spend the rest of the episode sharing some lists with you. These are like top 10 lists of episodes and different top 10 lists. And I'm going to give you a top 20 list of my own episodes that are not in any of these top 10 lists. Because I happen to like a lot of the episodes in the top 10 lists. It's I just have not seen. I'm sorry. But and I think it's important to really have a understand of what Star Trek is. I think particularly in our modern culture, because let's face it, a lot of the things we take for granted nowadays, cell phones, iPads, internet, computers, and all that, a lot of it comes from Star Trek. My own progressive politics, and yes, it is a very progressive show, always has been. It's always been a way for us to examine modern issues through the guise of science fiction. I think really good science fiction does that. I think Trek does that exceptionally well. And also, I understand that the current era of Trek has been increasingly dark and hopeless, but the core of the message of Trek has always been one of optimism for what is to come. That there is hope for the future, and that's one of the things I like about it. So, anyway, let's get on to some lists. I have 5 different lists. I'll talk briefly about each episode. If I've seen it, if it's an episode I've not seen, I'll just state, hey, I haven't seen it. All right. Which will most likely happen when we get to DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. Because I have not seen all of those series. So the first list we're going to start with is from 1996, so the 30th anniversary of Star Trek. So it's going to be mostly original series, which came out in the 60s, mind you. And Next Generation, which came out in the late 80s. In fact, my 9th birthday is when the first episode of Next Gen came out. And then DS9 came out shortly before that point. I think Voyager came out about that point. Enterprise was a little later. Here we go. 1996 TV Guide list. Number 1, The City on the Edge of Forever. First season, TOS. I think a lot of people agree with that. I certainly do. That's probably the best hour of Star Trek ever made. Famously written by Harlan Ellison, who recently passed away. And he was famously pissed off that the script was changed as much as it was. But still a good episode. It involves Dr. McCoy accidentally drugging himself. He thinks everyone around him is out to kill him. And then he winds up stepping through a time portal. It's called the Guardian of Forever. And changes history so that the Federation no longer exists. So Kirk and Spock follow him. Kirk falls for a social worker in Depression-era New York. And then finds out that in order to restore their timeline, she has to die. Social worker played by a very young Joan Collins. It is from this episode that originates one of my favorite moments in Star Trek. Kirk and Spock have stepped through the portal. They're in Depression-era New York, and they're stealing someone's clothes. As in uniform, they are quite conspicuous. A cop catches them. Spock reminds Kirk that he would have no trouble explaining Spock's Vulcan appearance to the cop, and he goes a little something like this. So my friend here is obviously Chinese. I see you've noticed the ears. They're actually very easy to explain. Perhaps the unfortunate accident that I had as a child. Oh yes, the unfortunate accident he has as a child. He caught his head in a mechanical rice picker. So, very good episode. Is definitely must viewing for anyone who considers himself a Trekkie. Number 2 on this particular list is Amok Time. This is also TOS second season. This is where we learn about Ponfar, the Vulcan mating cycle, where they have to mate every 7 years or die from insanity. And it's the first time that we actually see the planet Vulcan, and Vulcan mating rituals, which includes fighting each other to the death and everything. Definitely worth checking out. Number 3 is Mirror Mirror. Also TOS. This is the one that introduces a concept that will be revisited in several Trek series. Most notably DS9 Voyage. No, not Voyager. DS9, Enterprise, and Discovery. There we go. And that's the concept of the mirror universe, where there's no Federation, it's the Terran Empire. Vulcans have goatees, and everyone's very sinister, and the only way to advance in this world is to kill your superior. Yeah. Number 4 on this list is also season 2 of TOS, that is the Doomsday Machine, which is a giant machine that destroys planets. And there's a Starfleet Commodore, Decker, who's obsessed with destroying the thing because it killed his crew. Number 5 is Journey to Babel. Also TOS Season 2. This is an important one because it introduces Spock's parents, Ambassador Sarek and Amanda. It introduces the Andorians and the Tellarites, and this also establishes the relationship that Spock has with his father, i.e. not necessarily a good one. And that's explored a little more in Discovery. Definitely a good episode. Definitely check that one out. Number 6, the first TNG episode on this list is 11001001. The Enterprise D now, because this is next gen. It gets a software upgrade from the Binars, a binary species that talk to each other in a very advanced computer language and always travel in pairs. So they're working on the Enterprise computer, and while doing so, they trap Riker in the holodeck. This is where we learn about his love for the trombone, and Picard is stuck in the holodeck with him. And the Binars take the ship because their son's about to go Nova, and they're concerned that their planetary computer system will go out. And of course, we meet Riker's dream girl, Minuet. Or to quote Will Wheaton, "To this day, Frakes will keep saying, Minuet." Number 7 is Yesterday's Enterprise, also TNG. This is where Enterprise NCC 1701C travels through an anomaly, changes history. Tasha Yar comes back from the dead, and Shearer McGavin is on the Enterprise C. And a very good episode, very pivotal for the remainder of TNG, because it's after that episode we start seeing Denise Crosby as a half Romulan leader. Yeah. Number 8 is The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. This is a 2-part episode, but they specifically say Part 1. This one can be best summed up in one sentence. I am Locutus of Borg. This is the one where Picard is assimilated into the Borg. Number 9 is Tapestry, also TNG. Picard dies for a little bit, finds out Q runs the afterlife, and is given a chance to revisit his past decisions. Only find out that they change the present circumstances and everything. So that's interesting. Yeah, that moment. Yeah, welcome to the afterlife, Jean-Luc. You're dead. And it's cute. But a very important lesson with that one too. That while we may regret some of the decisions that we make, they still are an important part of who we are. So, number 10 is The Visitor. This is a Deep Space Nine episode, and this is one I have not seen, actually, so I'll just leave it at that. Next list is from 2016. This is the 50th anniversary fan list, and this was announced during the annual Star Trek convention that happens every year in Las Vegas now. And this one goes number 1, again, Sitting on the Edge of Forever. Number 2, In the Pale Moonlight. This is DS9. I have not seen this one. Number 3, The Inner Light. TNG. This is the counter probe. Picard winds up comatose on the bridge for a few minutes. During those few minutes, he is reliving from transmissions from this probe the last moments of the civilization that launched it. And this is where he comes into possession of the Reskin flute that he plays throughout the later seasons of TNG. And also notable that his son in this vision is Patrick Stewart's real life son, who is also an actor. Number 4, Mock Time. Number 5, Yesterday's Enterprise. Number 6, The Visitor. Number 7, Chain of Command. TNG is a 2-parter and can be best described thusly: there are 4 lights. Yep, Picard being tortured by Cardassians in this one. Number 8 on this list is Bounce of Terror, first season of TOS. This is the episode that introduces us to the Romulans. Number 9 on this list is In a Mirror Darkly. This is a 2-parter from Enterprise. And this is Enterprise stepping into the Mirror universe. And number 10, The Magnificent Ferengi. This is DS9. And this one I actually did see. It's basically a rescue mission of saving Quark's mother from the Dominion. And we'll talk more about Quark's mother on a different lists. The next list is 2016 50th anniversary fan worst episodes. All right, these are ones that are generally that were generally panned by the fans. So we'll go over this list as well. Number 1, these are the voyages from Enterprise. Another one I have not seen, so I will mercifully not talk about that one. Number 2 is Code of Honor, the third episode ever of Next Gen, which is quite racist, shall we say, and I'll just leave it at that. Number 3 is from Voyager. This is Threshold. This one can be summed up in 2 words: lizard babies. Number 4 on this list is Turnabout Intruder. This is actually the episode that ended the original series. If you've ever seen the movie Freaky Friday, basically the same idea here, except it's Captain Kirk and a insane female scientist swapping minds and bodies, and definitely not the best episode. So, number 5 on the list is Shades of Grey. This is TNG into second season. This one can also be described in 2 words: clip show. Number 6 on the list is Sub Rosa. This is season 7 of Next Gen. And this is the one where Beverly Crusher falls in love with a lamp. The original I Love Lamp. And coincidentally, this episode was directed by one Jonathan Frakes. Who to this day remains the poster child of Trek actors becoming successful directors. Because, I mean, this dude went on to direct 2 of the Next Gen films and has pretty much directed in or been involved in every single iteration of Trek, mostly as a director, with the exception of the original series. Not too bad. Number 7 is And the Children Shall Lead. This is TOS 3rd season. It involves finding a bunch of children whose parents were killed, and they're worshiping this and invoking this creature called the Gorgon, who does terrible things to the crew and whatnot. I don't know if this one belongs in this list, but oh well. Number 8 is Move Along Home, DS9, which includes Avery Brooks' least favorite scene in doing DS9. Ella Moraine, count to 4, Ella Moraine, then 3 more. Number 9, I actually like number 9 on this list, so I wonder what it's even doing there. And it is The Alternative Factor, which is season 1 of TOS. And one of the reasons I like it is I like Lazarus's time ship. Very unique looking vessel in terms of Trek. So, a pox on the folks who put this episode on this list. And number 10 is Precious Cargo from Enterprise. I have not seen this one. And the next list is going to be from ScreenRant.com. They did a top 10 list as well. Number 1, No Surprise, On the Edge of Forever. Number 2, Chain of Command. Number 3, Balance of Terror. Number 4, The Measure of a Man. Second season of TNG. This is where a scientist, Bruce Maddox, wants to disassemble data to further his own research into cybernetics. So they go trial for it to determine whether Data has the rights to say no to this experimentation. By the way, this episode is required viewing if you want to understand key parts of Star Trek Picard. Number 5, In the Pale Moonlight. Number 6, The Void. This one I saw just recently. The Voyager gets trapped in a void with other ships, and they're all working together to try to find a way to get out. Not so easy, right? Number 7, Best of Both Worlds. Number 8, Peak Performance. This is the episode where the Enterprise de-engages in war games. And I think there's an encounter with the Ferengi in this episode, and Data playing the strategist who's conducting the war games in a strategy game and coming close to beating him in the end. Number 9, The Trouble with Tribbles. TOS. This is the one, of course, it introduces tribbles. The little furry things that if you allow them to feed, they will multiply and multiply tremendously. Okay. Definitely one of the lighter-hearted episodes of TOS, and one that was actually revisited in DS9. I think that one's called Trials and Tribble-ations, and time travel's involved with that one. And of course, that's an iconic scene too, seeing Kirk open the storage hatch and all those tribbles raining down on him. And number 10 is a two-parter. This is Equinox from Voyager. They come across another Federation starship that's also stranded in the Delta Quadrant, but they've been doing terrible things to an alien race out there. Quite disturbing. So that was. Now here's my list of episodes to consider. You won't find Enterprise on this list, but you will find all the others. And yes, I do touch on Discovery and Picard, even though those aren't really episodic by any means. They still break it up into episodes. And these are the ones I personally recommend. So number 1 on this list, one that I've always said is my personal favorite. This is these first 5 are all TOS, by the way. Number 1, The Day of the Dove. Malignant alien takes over. The Enterprise forces the Enterprise crew and a bunch of Klingons to fight each other in perpetuity with swords. And we are introduced to one of the 3 important Klingon leaders from TOS in this episode, specifically Kang, who we'll see again in DS9 and Voyager. Number 2 is a piece of the action. Alien civilization bases their entire society on a book on Chicago mobs of the 20s. And Kirk makes up whole cloth the card game of Fizbin. Second card is turned up, except on Tuesdays. Number 3 on this list is Parents of Force. This is where they come across a planet that's populated by Nazis. I think it was brave of than this, especially because Shatner and Nimoy are or were Jewish. Number 4, and I know Discovery has toyed with long episode titles so far in their 2 years in going, but I don't think they've gotten an episode title this long. For the world is hollow and I have touched the sky. This is a Dr. McCoy episode. He finds that he's sick with a terminal illness and gives himself about a year to live. At the same time, the Enterprise comes across a generation ship that looks like an asteroid. The people inside think they're actually on a planet and worship their ship's computer, not knowing that they're actually on a spaceship. Number 5, Whom Gods Destroy. This one takes place in an insane asylum and features the character of Captain Garth. Lord Garth, who's a disgraced Federation captain who went a little insane. And by the way, this episode spun off the fan production Axanar, which is important because of Axanar that CBS set up their guidelines for Trek fan productions. Alright, because they felt Axanar was in it for the wrong reasons. Number 6 on my list, we're now going into TNG for a little bit. Number 6 is Conspiracy. It's the one with those crab-like parasites infecting admirals, and is quite graphic near the end with Remek's head blown off. Everything. This episode of Noble is the only episode of TNG my mother would not let me watch. But when I came of age, I bought it on VHS and it is now immortalized on this list. As they say in this episode, patience is one of our virtues. Number 7 on this list is A Matter of Honor, Season 2 of TNG. This is the one where Riker goes and serves on a Klingon ship for a little bit. And part of his prep work for going on this Klingon ship is to immerse himself in Klingon cuisine. And one of the most noble dishes in Klingon culture is gach, which is serpent worms. Of course, they wouldn't actually eat worms. They made noodles. Everything. And when he gets on the ship, he's offered gach, and it's still moving, and everything. And the officer he's working under tells him, gach is always best when served live. Definitely a good one. Number 8 on this list is a Menage a Troi. Important for a few reasons. It's the first time we actually see the planet Beta Z on screen. It's a Mrs. Troi episode. So those are always fun. And this is the episode that gave us the annoyed Picard, what the fuck meme, which is just a still of him quoting Shakespeare to save Mrs. Troi from the Ferengi. Definitely look. And number 9 on this list, the last TNG episode on this list is Phantasms, which is season 7. This is where Data is dreaming and exploring those dreams, including Beverly drinking stuff out of Riker's head with a straw, or cutting a cake that's shaped like Counselor Troy. And not just any cake, it is a cellular peptide cake with mint frosting. All of them hidden messages that tell Data, hey, they're these invisible aliens on board that are sucking the crew dry and everything, and it's up to you to figure out what the heck's going on. Number 10, we start going to DS9 territory. Here, number 10 is Babel, first season of DS9. They unwillingly trigger a virus into the space station that causes everyone to start talking strangely. As well, it creates a aphasia where you can no longer associate your thoughts with the appropriate words. Major Locke's True Pepper. Simple hesitation. That sort of thing. Number 11, also DS9. This one is Family Business. This is the one where we meet Quark's mother. Now, it's important to note that Ferengi culture is very misogynistic. Among the things that women are not allowed to do in that culture, earn profits. Ironic, because the Ferengi society is based on making profits. They're not allowed to leave the house. They're not allowed to talk to strangers. They're not allowed to wear clothes. And Quark's mom is doing all of these things. Very funny moment where he first meets Quark's mom. As she's in trouble for earning profit. Yeah. Your mother is wearing clothes. Mother, get our dresses and sit. Then a few minutes later, they didn't print this and take off those clothes. Again, I haven't seen all of DS9, but my understanding is that Quark's mother winds up spearheading a bunch of reforms for women in Ferengi society. Again, don't know because I haven't seen all of it. But I have seen the next episode that's on this list. As I've seen all the episodes of this list. Number 13 on this list, Take Me Out to the Hall Suites. The last DS9 episode I have on this list. This is the baseball episode. I can't not be a sports fan and not include this episode on the list. Number 14 on the list is The Cloud. This is a Voyager episode. In fact, the next few will be Voyager. And this is very early on in Voyager and gives us that famous Catherine Janeway quote. There's coffee in that nebula. Number 15 is Blood Fever. It's a Ponfar episode because there are Vulcans on Voyager. One of those about to go through Ponfar and tries to make his advances on B'Elanna, who of course is half Klingon, half human, and tries to mind meld with her, and as a result, she goes through Pomfar and suddenly has the hots for Tom Paris. Spoiler alerts, they wind up becoming a couple after this episode. So is this the parts where you start throwing heavy objects at me? Number 16 is the Omega Directive, where we learn that there is something that supersedes the Prime Directive, and it's quite secretive, except in this particular case, and that is if Omega particles are detected, you must destroy them. Right, because it can really fuck up subspace and make warp travel impossible. Turns out the Borg are interested in this substance as well, but for different reasons. Because they see it as perfection. Yeah. Number 17 is Bride of Chaotica, which is mostly a holodeck episode. A bunch of creatures confuse the holodeck for real life. And it causes Voyager to not go anywhere, and all the systems are down. So Janeway has to portray a very important villain in the holonovel that's been confused for reality, and it's actually quite funny. And speaking of Janeway's coffee addiction, which is very well known, this episode also gave us the line, "Listen to me carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. Coffee! Black!" Number 18 is Tinker Tender Dr. Spy, where we find out that the ship's holographic doctor has reprogrammed himself to daydream, and he's off daydreaming from time to time. He's daydreaming all the female officers on board are hitting on him, and he's daydreaming that he wants to have a command subroutine in case of an emergency. He's daydreaming about painting 7 of 9 nude, among other things. It's a very, very funny little episode. Number 19 is Discovery. Choose your pain. This one reintroduces the character of Harry Mudd into Star Trek. Harry Mudd being a con man who appeared a couple times in the original series and is appearing here since Discovery is a TOS prequel. Played by Rainn Wilson, whom Chris Hurts name drops on his episode. But for me, this is interesting because it's the first time in Star Trek of any variety, even the movies, that they drop an F-bomb. 2 quotes, Cadets Tilly. "You guys, this is so fucking cool!" Oh, I'm so sorry. No. You're right, Cadet. It is fucking cool. By the way, that's something you can do now that you're on streaming platforms and not live broadcast television. You can drop F-bombs like that. And Picard has liberally dropped F-bombs. Sheer fucking hubris. Which brings me to number 20, which is indeed from Picard. I could have gone with a number of episodes here, but I've decided to go with Absolute Candor, which, yes, has an F-bomb. I hate that fucking hospitality hologram. It represents Picard assuming the last part of his crew. And it ends in spectacular fashion. They save a pilot of a ship that's, whether intentionally or not, helping them fend off an old-style Romulan ship. It turns out the pilot was 7 of 9. In the last second of the episode, they beam over to their ship as her ship explodes. And she says, "You owe me a ship, Picard." And then passes out. So, those are my thoughts and a bunch of lists regarding Star Trek. To the folks at Viacom, CBS, and Roddenberry, please keep doing a good job. I look forward to seeing what you guys have in store for Star Trek for hopefully many years to come. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next time. This podcast is Uncalled For. It's hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky. Opening music is Fantasia Fantasia by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Outro music is Space 1990 by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Until next time, peace and long life, or if you prefer, Gopla!
Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.